Hello dear audience. This is the story of Lytuca, a homeless girl unexpectedly helped by police officer Henry and taken to a safe place. After discovering an old letter from her mother, Lytuca decides to return to a secret cellar to uncover the truth about her parents' death. There, she discovers a horrifying brainwashing project targeting homeless children, run by a secret organization. The chase begins, and Henry joins Lytuca in a dangerous battle. Subscribe to the channel to follow their thrilling journey to uncover the truth. The early morning sky was painted with hues of orange and gray as Lytuca sat quietly on the porch of her new home. The countryside was peaceful, too peaceful. Though she was grateful to Henry for finding her a safe place to live, her heart remained restless. The shadows of her past refused to let her go. As she unpacked the last of her belongings from an old suitcase that once belonged to her mother, something unexpected caught her attention: a small hidden compartment under the lining. Curiosity stirred, and with careful fingers, she peeled it open. Inside was a faded envelope, yellowed with age. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was a letter. A letter from her mother. My dearest Lytuca, if you are reading this, it means you are safe for now. But the truth is still buried. You deserve to know why your father and I disappeared. Go to the old house, behind it, where the hydrangeas used to bloom. There's a cellar. Inside, you'll find what we couldn't tell you. With all our love. Mom. Lytuca's breath caught in her chest. Her heart pounded as memories of her childhood rushed back: her mother's gentle voice, her father's laugh, and the scent of those very flowers blooming behind the old house. She hadn't been back there since the day they vanished. A war waged inside her. Should she tell Henry? Should she wait? But something inside told her this was something she had to face alone. This was between her and the ghosts of her family. Silently, she packed a small bag and left a note on the kitchen table. Just in case. What Lytuca didn't know was that someone else had noticed her tension van, the former associate of the organization that had destroyed her life. After leaving the organization in secret, he'd been trying to make amends by watching over her from afar. He'd seen the change in her eyes that morning, the way her hand lingered on that old suitcase, and he knew she was about to do something dangerous. He followed quietly, his motorcycle trailing behind her bus from a safe distance. As Lytuca approached the outskirts of the city and turned onto the dirt path leading to her family's old home, a storm began to brew overhead. Thunder rolled softly, as if echoing the emotions building in her chest. The house appeared like a memory frozen in time, walls crumbling, windows broken, yet still standing defiantly against the years. She walked slowly around to the back, where wild grass had overtaken the garden. But just beyond the tangle of weeds, she saw it, the iron cellar door, half covered in vines and rusted shut. She knelt down, brushing the dirt aside, her mother's words replaying in her mind: the truth is buried. As her fingers found the old lock, She whispered, "I'm ready now." Behind her, hidden in the trees, Van watched carefully, ready to step in when she needed him most. Little did they both know, what was waiting in that cellar would change everything. The iron door creaked open with resistance, the rusted hinges groaning like voices from the past. Kai hesitated for a moment before descending into the darkness. Each step she took down the narrow staircase was a step deeper into her family's buried history. The air was thick with dust and mildew. The dim light from her flashlight cast long, trembling shadows on the stone walls. This wasn't just a cellar, it was a time capsule. The silence pressed in around her, broken only by the soft crunch of debris beneath her boots. At the bottom of the stairs, Kai discovered a small room filled with forgotten fragments of a life once lived, books, papers, broken furniture, and in the corner, a locked metal cabinet. Her heart thudded as she approached it, remembering the numbers her mother had written in her childhood journal, numbers she never understood, until now. With trembling fingers, she entered the code. The lock clicked open. Inside the cabinet were several folders, audio tapes, and one small portable video player. She grabbed them and sat down on the dusty floor, brushing off a tape labeled, "Project Chrysalis Evidence, Day 1. She pressed play. A grainy video appeared, and her breath caught as her mother's face filled the screen. The woman looked tired, but her eyes still sparkled with the fierce determination Kai remembered. Kai, sweetheart, if this reaches you, it means we didn't make it. Your father and I tried to protect you and the truth. What we found at the agency, it was horrifying. They were experimenting on homeless children, mind control, memory erasure. They called it Project Chrysalis." Kai stared at the screen, stunned. "We tried to leak the evidence. We tried to run. But they were always watching. If you found this, you're braver than I ever was. Don't trust anyone. And whatever you do, don't let them find you." The screen went black. Kai's hand shook as she reached for another file. Names, locations, and photographs, children like her. Victims. Some were labeled missing, others unrecoverable. The reality of it hit her like a wave. Her parents didn't just disappear, they were silenced. Just then, she heard a noise from above. Muffled footsteps. Then voices, cold, clipped, professional. They said she might come here. Search the house. She has something we need. Kai's eyes widened. She scrambled to gather the documents and shut off the player. Her hands trembled as she backed toward a narrow tunnel she hadn't noticed before, a hidden passage built into the side of the cellar. Before she could move, a flashlight beam sliced through the stairwell. Suddenly, a hand gripped hers from the tunnel entrance. "Come on," Van whispered. "We don't have much time." He pulled her into the darkness just as the footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. As they fled through the hidden tunnel, Kai held the files tightly against her chest. She now carried the truth her parents had died to protect. And someone was willing to kill to get it back. Lytuca stumbled out of the hidden tunnel, clutching the bundle of files tightly to her chest. Her breath was ragged, her hands scraped and trembling, but her mind was sharp. Behind her, Van followed with a slight limp, the gunshot wound in his leg worsening with each step. They emerged near a dry riverbed outside the city, hidden, quiet, and just isolated enough for a call. Lytuca pulled out the encrypted phone Henry had given her, her fingers shaking as she pressed the emergency code. Back at headquarters, Henry had been growing more anxious by the hour. He hadn't heard from Lytuca all day, and when he saw her location flash on the tracking map, far from the safe house, something inside him snapped. Within moments, he was in the car, speeding toward the signal. He arrived just in time to see her collapse to her knees in the grass. Lytuca, he called out, rushing to her side. She looked up, eyes wide, still processing everything she had just witnessed. She reached out with both hands, pressing the documents and tapes against his chest. They killed my parents, because they knew. Project Chrysalis is real. I have proof. Henry helped her up, his jaw tight with fury and concern. You did good, to Kentucky. I'm taking you somewhere safe. Van stepped forward, blood seeping through the cloth he'd wrapped around his leg. They're already closing in. You need to move her now. I'll handle the rest. No, Henry said firmly. You're injured. I'm calling backup. Within minutes, a transport van arrived. Lytuca was rushed to a secure location, and Van was taken to the hospital under police protection. Henry took the evidence straight to the internal intelligence team. The files Lytuca recovered were explosive. Names, identities, financial links, clear proof of high-level corruption, illegal experiments, and direct involvement from the general director himself. What had once been rumors was now undeniable truth. But there was a problem. He's gone, one officer reported. The general director, he disappeared hours ago. His house is empty. Phone's dead. No trace. Henry slammed his fist on the table. He knew. Someone warned him. But even as the anger boiled in his chest, his focus returned to Kentucky. She had risked everything for the truth. Now, it was his job to protect her and finish what her parents had started. That night, Henry sat beside Lytuca in the hospital's quiet recovery wing. She looked fragile, but there was fire behind her eyes. I thought it would end when I found the truth, she whispered. But this is just the beginning, isn't it? Henry nodded solemnly. Yes. But this time, you're not alone. Outside the window, shadows moved in the night. Somewhere out there, the mastermind was watching, waiting. But now, Lytuca wasn't just a target, she was a threat. and he would do everything to silence her. But Henry was ready. The war had just begun.